All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off by giving all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Yahweh, which is the name of the Most High, and Yahweh Shai, which is the name of the only begotten Son, the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Name of this video is going to be "The Inhabitants of the Earth Have Been Made Drunk," which is, of course, to a reference, to scriptures to speak about Babylon the Great, which is, the United States of America. I first wanted to start off, man. I saw this thing the other day. I believe it was the rapper. I believe his name is Nazek or something like that. You can look him up. In fact, was he the one who brought out those Satan shoes, those Nike Satan shoes? I'm not sure, but it might be him. Right? Somebody can tell me down below. For those of you who remember that from like a month or two ago. But anyway, he was in the news yesterday. He was on they was doing a show, right? It was a Egyptian, theme, for the show. And, what happened was, he, kissed another man, right? On TV. All right. So, I mean, they came out as gay, man. Okay. And, of course, everybody was, all happy about that. That's all a good thing, right? This is, we got to be accepting about these people, which, we know what the scriptures say. We know, what is that? Leviticus 20:13, right? If a man lies with a man as he lies with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. That's what the scriptures say. All right. So, that type of behavior is clearly prohibited when you deal with the scriptures. But yet in the same breath, these Christians and these Americans who will promote this man and say that, this is all good, but wait a second, the Bible clearly says that this behavior is not okay, but yet you guys proclaim that the Bible is the law of the land, just like George Bush said when he was in office. You can look that clip up online. But anyway, I only got 15 minutes to record this, so I'm going to go relatively quickly through these scriptures here. But hey, this is all just what? This is all the conditioning of the mind that, the United States has pushed upon the population of the world, man. Right? The philosophy of the American way of life has been pushed out throughout the entire earth. Right? That's why you have over in Saudi Arabia, I remember 2 years ago, there's this whole big thing about women, being able to drive cars. Now they can drive vehicles over in Saudi Arabia, but beforehand they were not, able to. Right? Another thing, man, over here, women are, allowed to walk around, and, barely any clothes on. I mean, hell, you can't do that over in Saudi Arabia, man. You'll get your ass put to death over there. Why? Because they still keep those ancient customs, right? But slowly but surely, just like, for example, if those women from Saudi Arabia, if they come over here to America, they can experience that freedom, right? That liberation, where they can now express themselves like that, right? And that's another thing, man, right? Feminism. But it all goes into how the nations of the world have been drunk off of the philosophy of America. And let's go to the scriptures. Revelation chapter 17 and verse 2. It says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Right, so the inhabitants of the earth, they have been made drunk with the philosophy and the ways of the American way of life. Okay, that's why, another example, another aspect to look at, upon it as, is, with this whole thing about, they call it the child brides, right? If you go out, let's say for an example, Saudi Arabia, Africa, India, in these places, man, it's a normal thing, for, them to marry, at like, 14, 15 years old. In Africa, it's even younger, or India as well. They're doing that at like, 11 or 12. But, slowly but surely, America's going into those nations and saying, no, do away with this, right? Raise the age of marriage to 18, right? That's their message. That's a complete fabrication of reality. There's no reason why human beings should, not engage in sexual activities until they hit certain numbers. That's an American doctrine that someone made up in the late 1800s. Look that up, by the way. Oh, which, by the way, the first age of consent law was 7 years old, and I believe that was in I believe it was Delaware, if I'm not mistaken. As I said, you can research all this information on your own. Okay, but that just shows you, right? That's one more example to show what? That the inhabitants of the earth, they have been made drunk off of the philosophy of the American way of life. Okay, because as Hillary Clinton said when she was running for office, there was a speech that she gave, and in the speech, she made a statement and said that when something is pushed in America, the whole world follows. And why is that? Because if you go down to, let me just get it real quick, Revelation 17 and verse 18 says, and the woman, which again, the woman is Babylon, right? America, which thou saw, is that great city who reigns over the kings of the earth, right? America reigns over the kings of the earth, right? The nations of the world, they get their ideas and their ways of life from following after the United States. And that's why, America can put sanctions upon nations of the world. Tell them, okay, you're going to do this or you're not going to do this, and they'll listen, right? But now, what we're seeing is now these nations are starting to stand up for themselves. And why is that? Because that goes into the prophecy, right? That the beast, which the beast is NATO, right? The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, it says what? That the beast shall hate the whore, right? NATO's going to hate America, right? And that's the prophecy. As I said, if you don't agree, then you don't believe in the text, right? But that's clearly the prophecy that the Lord gave 2,000 years ago, man, before any of this even existed. And that's why, because, Cat's on there, like one guy, man, I was having a conversation with him, and he said, oh no, Babylon the Great is, Jerusalem. It's like, well, you guys don't understand. The reason why it says it's a mystery is because, America wasn't around 2,000 years ago. Okay, so when the text was written, nobody would know the interpretation until, say, 1,700 years later. That's why, what is that, Daniel, the 12th chapter? The Lord told Daniel to seal up the book until the time of the end, which we're in the end now. Okay, so now we can understand the interpretation of the book. But, 500 years ago, 800 years ago, 1,000 years ago, nobody could understand the interpretation of the scriptures. Okay, but today we can. Now today we can properly, understand the interpretation. As I said, I'm going to go relatively quickly through these precepts because I only have a limited number of, time for the video here. But hey, man, as I said, it's clear as day, man. Like with this whole, LGBT, situation, man. This place is getting too much, man. Or this place is just becoming too much at this point, man. Okay, this place is just. That's why the scriptures say what? That her sins have reached unto heaven, right? The sins of America have reached unto heaven. Not only today, but we're talking about a few hundred years of history that this nation has. Because why? Because to start with, America was built off of the blood of the Jew. Okay, the blood of the so-called black man, which is the Jew of the Bible, was shed in America. America was built off the blood and sweat and tears of the so-called Negro, which is the Jew of the Bible, right? The Lord's chosen people. And that's why the scriptures say what? The city was drunk with the blood of the saints. The saints are the Israelites. Okay, so America was built off of the rape, robbery, and murder of the so-called black man. And that's clear, school history, okay? Which they're trying to remove that from the school books as well, but that's a separate topic. Let me see. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 51. And verse 6, it says, flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. And Babylon is suddenly fallen, and is destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one to his own country, for her judgment reaches unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. Right. And that's clearly talking about America, Jeremiah 51st chapter. That's clearly talking about the United States, because that doesn't fit ancient Babylon over in Iraq. Okay, that's talking about mystery Babylon. not ancient Babylon or Nebuchadnezzar, well, that's not what it's talking about, because that's what these cats will tell you. And the same thing goes with, what's that, Isaiah the 13th chapter. That's talking about America, right? And as I said, you Christian, scholars out there, you Christian pastors, y'all cats ain't really no shit, man. All right. Let me see real quick. Okay. Let's go to the book of Nahum. Chapter 3 and verse Nahum chapter 3 and verse 4. It says, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcraft, that sells nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcraft, behold, I am against thee, says the Lord of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. And I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vile, and set thee as a gazing stock. And that's what America's going to be turned into, man. As I said, these cats, will hear us say that, and they won't believe that, because this is a weird thing, to hear, man. This is, a laughable thing to say, that America is going to be brought down, because it's like, well, wait a second, how can the most powerful kingdom that's ever existed on the face of the earth be brought down? That's a weird thing. But you know what? That's what the scriptures say is going to happen, man. And that's not, hey, we didn't write the book. That's what it says, though. Right? And if you don't agree, well, you give me the interpretation of the scriptures. And if you can't do that, well, then you ain't know what you're talking about. It's very simple. But hey, man, at the end of the day, which actually, I'll start to wrap up the video here. But I'm going to end off with this. Okay, let's go to the book of Revelation 18 and verse, let's start at verse 3. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich. For the abundance of her delicacies, clearly talking about America. There's no other civilization that's existed throughout the last 2,000 years that fits this description other than the United States. And if anybody says that there is, will you tell me what that's talking about? Anyway, here's the point, verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive none of her plagues. Right, and that's what we want to do. Right, we want to mentally separate ourselves from the philosophy and the ways of life of America. That's what we want to do. Okay, that's why, as I said, my brothers, come back to the proper understanding of this book. Okay, listen to these Hebrew Israelite groups out here like Great Millstone, Sakari. Okay, the Zealots of Israel, I believe they're called, right? ETT, End Time Teachers, which is, myself. Why? Because we're showing you the right way. We're showing our people the right way, right? You so-called Black and Hispanic and Native American, right? We're out here telling what? We're out here telling the world that the so-called Black and Hispanic is the Jew of the Bible, right? And the Native Americans are the Jews of the Bible, right? The Lord's chosen people. That's what we're out here telling, right? And that the white people are the Edomites of the Bible, right? The Lord's enemy. Now, that should not be twisted. It is true that some white people are Israelites. So, not every white person is an Edomite. Just don't get that twisted, okay? Because you got guys out here who just say that, oh, all white people. Now, that's not true. That's completely going off, all right? Some white people are Israelites, okay? That's pretty much gonna, wrap up the video, man. Okay, but the point of the matter, man, is, this place is clearly getting worse and worse, man. Okay, it just seems like, every other day there's, something new that's going on here, man. All right, but hey, man, it's very clear that this place is done, man. Okay, this place is clearly done for. Okay, and anybody that doesn't agree, well, you're just not living in real life then, man. Okay, you can clearly see. Okay, only a damn fool could, look at the state of the society that we're in right now and tell me that this is normal, man. Right? How the hell is it normal to see two guys, walking down the street together, man? Well, as I said, kissing, walking down the street, that's not normal, man. It's not normal. Okay, but that's, in this society, that's all okay. You know, that's okay. You know, it's not okay for a 20-year-old man to sleep with a 15-year-old. Oh, that's like some type of creepiness. But it is okay for a man to sleep with a dog, though, in California. Oh, that's perfectly okay. But it's okay, you know, it's okay for two women to be together, but it's not okay for a man to have two wives. Oh, that's some type of like weirdness. You know, and that's the philosophy of this country. That's the wine of her fornication, right? Because when you deal with scriptures, wine is a philosophy, a way of belief. Okay, you know, for those who didn't know, but it's clearly have been made clear, you know, by the text that has been presented. Anyway, you know, that is going to wrap up this video. If anybody made it this far into the video, I want you to put hashtag Powerade in the comment section down below. Anyway, you know, I'm going to end off by giving all praise unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, for this truth. I'm going to say shalom.